What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Connected to the Web podcast. I'm your host, Joe Webb. I have an awesome guest here today. I appreciate you guys that are coming back and watching on my YouTube channel, the World Wide Web of Lending. I say that every guest is awesome, and I don't want to let that be drowned out, but I've gotten really lucky. But I have another awesome guest here. So I have Julia Capallo here today. She's got a business called A Marvelous Spark. It is a super fun idea. She's really making some waves in her industry, and she's local, which is what we're all about here. So, hello, welcome.
Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, thanks for being here. So, before we get started, I stalked you a little bit on your website, which her website's awesome. We'll put that in the notes comment section later. But so I have to ask you a question. Who are you and what's your story?
So got that from my website.
I did. I love that. I'm like, well, that's a really good place to start. So let's start with who you are and tell me about your husband and children, and let's just go from there.
Sure. So my name is Julia Capallo, and I wear a lot of hats in life, as most people do. I'm a mom. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter, an aunt, a niece, all the things. I have two little boys who are 2 and 5, and they're going to be 3 and 6 in September. So I've got one starting kindergarten. My husband works at Aberdeen Proving Ground, so maybe some of the listeners work there as well.
I'm sure. Wait, you said so they're both having September birthdays?
Yes. So interestingly, my first son, September 12th, he just missed the cutoff. Like he'll be one of the older kids.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. And then so my younger son is going to be 3. He'll be in the same boat. He missed the cutoff by 2 days, September 3rd. So the craziest part is like I was a teacher. So I think about that, and we'll probably get into that a little bit later. Yeah. But the just interesting part about being a teacher and having children going into a school system, I think that has a new perspective for me. And I'm actually really excited that they'll be one of the older children and have a little bit more maturity going in. So
I'm only one person. I only had one life, one set of networking, but I've never, and I mean that unequivocally, I've never had anybody say they regret the hold back or the missing the cutoff, but I've heard families say they regret not doing it.
Yeah, and especially for boys. Again, it really depends on the personality of the child and the social and emotional, all the things.
So at 3 and 5, then with that, are they still going to be 2 grades apart, or is the mix match going to have them be 1 grade apart?
They'll be 3 grades apart because they'll be 3 and 6.
Oh, got it. Sorry. So mine actually ended up being 1 grade apart because they're 15 months apart by age. But we held the oldest back, did not hold the second one back, and they're only 1 grade apart, which is why they're together in the same school. So, yeah, it was a big decision, but again, myself included, no regrets. And I had my 3rd son, boys.
Yep.
We just decided to hold him back, and there wasn't any negative factors that can exist in some families. We just had a gut feeling, and it was an awesome decision. So, yeah, good for you. That's going to be cool, though, to have that, and you got the teacher and mom brain combined, obviously.
Yes, so. Always planning ahead and anticipating what, not to say being negative, but like what could possibly go wrong with something. Right. So you were like, okay, plan B, let's do the next thing. Oh, plan C, like you're running late. Actually, this morning, perfect example. Yeah. Just kind of getting situated. And
mom curveballs.
And by the way, it's Monday morning and we're rocking it anyway.
Yes.
So yes. Mondays can be a little crazy with getting.
We're going to be good crazy, not bad crazy.
Yeah. Well, just kind of go with the flow. Like you just have to do that as an entrepreneur, as a parent. It's just life.
So your husband's name is Andy. He works at APG. Is he in the service, or is he served, or is he just there as a civilian contractor?
He's a civilian contractor. Okay, cool. And he went back to the office 5 days a week recently. So
all the changes that are got it.
Yeah, and we moved to the area about 3 months ago. Actually, yesterday was like 3 months to the day.
Oh, so happy anniversary!
Thanks. Yeah, I love it. Bel Air's awesome. My husband grew up here, as we've talked about. So it's great for him to kind of come back and just it's changed a lot, which I think is really great. But yeah, for him, his commute's a lot shorter. It's not really like we were in Perry Hall. It wasn't too far, but it just cuts off a little bit of time, which is great.
Yeah, Perry Hall, White Marsh, Middle River, Rosedale, like they're really convenient to a lot of things, but they're not that far from Harford County. But it is a different atmosphere, I guess. It's a little less congested, although I can be crazy on 24, as I'm sure you've learned. It's changing so much down there. So what was the reason to, it's not a transplant because your husband's from Harford County, but what was the general idea, without too much detail, while you and your husband were like, okay, let's look north, I guess.
Sure. So part of it, like it was kind of coincidental because he was working from home at the time.
Okay.
That it was closer to work for him. And I work from home, so it's like doesn't really make a difference
Right.
for me too much. But we wanted a bigger space. We were looking at different schools, and we
Yeah.
landed right next to Ring Factory Elementary, and then
That's a great
basically
school.
between Ring Factory and Patterson Middle School. So we are right.
Perfect.
It's a really great neighborhood, and we're close to things. We're really close to the festival. We're close to Abingdon. We're close to Main Street. It's just really been great, and I am really excited to just continuing to learn the area. You've shared a couple things about living up this way. So
we talked about 543, which is also Fountain Green Road, but if you pass a certain stop sign, then it becomes Addy Road. So we talked about that earlier today as just her kind of getting her bearings. You guys have had a recent experience. You're moving. You're in a new area. How are the kids doing with all this?
I think they're transitioning pretty well.
Okay.
My youngest, I actually, even this morning, he's very clingy when he leaves me in the morning.
And he's 3, right?
Yeah.
It's age appropriate.
Right. I think it's one of those things, I try to give a hug and not prolong it too long because the teachers
Stage
are
5 clinger.
Yeah, literally, I'm literally scraping him off my leg. The teacher's kind of pulling him away.
Yeah.
But in part because I think the teachers are just leave.
I've heard that. Yeah.
It's actually better if you're just standing and hanging around.
Like a Band-Aid, rip it off kind of thing.
Yeah, because as soon as I leave, they're he's totally fine.
Yeah.
So me.
Was it hard for you to I'm so sorry?
Not really. In part because I have I had to drop my older son off, so I'm okay, I love you. All right, I'll see you later. But I also
Mommy
don't want
has to go.
Yeah. So it's that push and pull. But
cool.
At the end of the day, but I guess I'm kind of wondering, okay, when is that going to happen? Where he just is happy to go.
Yeah.
Not saying I want him to be running away from me because I'm sure that comes with time with kids.
Yeah, father time is crazy. I mean, I'm just recently, about the last couple of weeks, my wife and I have been joking, and it's obviously me more joking, but I'm halfway at that point where I can see my life with my wife, with the kids, not gone, but not ever present,
right?
Around us, and that's exciting. But I'm still halfway there because I am now starting to see the moments as they're happening. Oh wow, this is the last of this, and I don't want to start crying. I'm a sappy sap.
Yeah.
But I'm super sensitive to those moments, and I'm can time just slow down because we're hitting those things. And I got a 10-year-old who's trying to be a teenager with his big brothers, but he still loves hanging out with his little sister. So I get to see that pull both sides, and I'm oh man, don't grow up so fast. You know?
And that really is that kind of age of the separation between they're still really innocent, but they're trying to find themselves. The tween, I guess, is kind of
totally tween.
Which I always thought it was tween, it's almost teen, but it's but they're in between. I don't know if that's really where that term.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right because once they're a teenager, they're already there. So it's almost like a preteen. Tween, right? Which for every child is different, but it's that awkward 9, 10, 11, 12 thing, and middle school was a part of that when they get to the upper part of that tween age. But even before middle school, you're starting to see that pull. With older siblings, it's a little different. Obviously, there's a step up to see what comes next. It's simple things like bedtime, and the 10-year-old is well, why can't I do this? He's doing it. I'm he's 16. Well, he's doing it. Well, he's 14.
And that's really hard for them to understand because they see it. And actually, speaking of which, my youngest, I'm sure you've experienced this, second born, he wants to do everything his older brother's doing, swimming. Yeah. He's trying to get in the pool without his floaties on. I'm that's probably not going to go well. That happened this summer.
Did he jump in?
So our older son is going to he's getting into swimming without his floaties, and my niece thankfully this summer got him more comfortable and acclimated. We were trying to encourage it, which we eventually got to, but she was like kind of the initiation.
Yeah.
He wants to listen to her more so. He admires her. She's 10.
Let it go. Yeah.
She just turned 10. So yeah, like he's swimming. We're at the pool. He's swimming along, and we're like, "Oh wow, that's awesome! Good job, buddy!" And the next thing we know, we see our youngest. Like, I just turn around, and he is like in the water, just like floating. Like, I mean, it was split second.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm like, oh my gosh, like you don't have your floaties on. What are you doing? And sure enough, yeah, I think he had this moment of like, oh, I don't float. I can't do what he's doing. So fortunately, there was no issue. It definitely like heart-stopping moment. But to your point, like
Yeah.
older siblings are going to be trying to, or the younger siblings are going to try to like do whatever the older
Be the
ones
shadow.
are. Yeah.
So I just realized something. I haven't thought about this in a long time, but we had a situation at a friend's house where they had a in-ground pool, smaller yard, everything is fenced in or whatever. And we had just gotten there. Like we didn't even put the bags down yet. And it was my oldest when he was like 3 or 4, which is why that age, right? And he had his swim trunks on, but not his floaty, whatever you want to call it, right?
Things, yeah.
And we just like turned our head to say hi, give somebody a hug. He jumped in. Someone's like, whose kid is that? And I'm like, oh, it's mine. I literally had to pull him out. It was like 4 or 5 feet. He was under. And he's like, and he's spitting out water. I didn't like resuscitate him or anything,
right.
But it was literally seconds, right?
Yeah.
And after that point, I'm scarred. So every moment at that point, obviously, I'm like
scanning the
you're scanning is a great way to put it, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, I haven't thought about that for years. But when you said that about your son, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a tough one. So you're not going to forget that,
right? And you never want that to have that experience. But in some ways, I see it as for him. Here's your boundary.
Yeah.
Right. Like you need to know. I'm not saying like you need to get hurt or have every experience, but sometimes having some kind of experience that alerts everybody, really.
And he knows, like you said, he knows he doesn't float.
Yes.
That was the lesson.
The next time.
Tough learned, and you guys were all there, but that was the lesson, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Well, what a marvelous story. Segue. Let's talk about a marvelous spark, if you will.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sorry, I love that segue. Was perfect.
I'm like a news person. I'm learning these segue. They transition mode. Yeah. We're good. Okay, so I definitely want to get into your marvelous name, but I did go on your website and I saw something. I'm 44. There's not a whole lot of like things I haven't seen, I guess, in my life, but there's a phrase on your website that I just kept coming back to. So multi-passionate. Wow. I mean, what a great phrase. Can you tell me what your definition of that is? Yeah. Where that came from, kind of thing? I'd like to go there before we get into the company name.
Yeah, thank you. So I was thinking about how to do that about page, and I fiddled with it many times. Like, how do I word this? How do I describe? And then that term, I forget even where I found it. It's multi-passionate, creative, attached to it. Thinking about what does that mean? That perfectly described me. So what it means, at least in my mind, and kind of as the definition, is I just get really excited, like lit up by so many things, especially when it comes to creativity.
Okay.
And I'm a believer, this kind of goes into the name of the company, but just being inspired by things, whether it's everyday life, it's just getting like going outside, but almost having like a childlike mind in some ways.
Oh, that's super cool.
You know, interestingly, my name Julia means youthful, so I'm like just
how cool is that?
Life, like just living my my namesake, and
I love that.
So the idea of multi-passionate is really anything that I do. I try to put in everything that I have.
Ooh, yeah.
Which in some ways it could be like, oh, you're running yourself too thin. You should be just focusing on one thing. I can't do it. Like, I try. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like I don't have focus. And sometimes I feel like I have like hyper focus on something, but when it comes to creative outlets and creative things, there's so many ways to do that. Whether it's art, like visual arts, movement. I'm trying to think of other things that I do, like writing, all those types of things. And I'm just really passionate about all of them and then how they come together in my work, but then also in my life, because I think life and work, they can certainly be separate. But for me, I feel like everything kind of pulls together and is just very
that's
connected.
Cool, because if I'm a potential customer of yours, right, and you are passionate in X, and I am looking to have you be a part of my business, have this conversation, help me with some things we're going to talk about in the next segment. Mm-hmm. If I know you're X, but I'm a Y or Z kind of client, it could, not in a negative way, but it could say, well, maybe this isn't the right fit for me. But knowing that you're multi-passionate and you're going to put 150% into the part of your passion that's going to help me grow my business, I think that's an advantage for you. Yeah. And it's super cool. What a cool word. So you did see that phrase somewhere and said, this is me, this resonates with me, and then adopted that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's absolutely super cool. So
Yeah.
again, with inspiration and seeing all of that come together, now let's get to the name, which is so unique. And I had to read your business name a couple times before you and I had coffee, and I'm like, am I like reading it wrong? Like a marvelous spark or a marvelous spark? Like I had this fun conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like A. So in my head, like, well, she actually did it because you were inspiring some sort of creative session for me. And I'm like, oh, aha. It was super cool. So kind of tell me down that road where that word spark came from. And,
Yeah.
you know, what do they call it? Spoiler alert. This story is on your website, but I want the live version.
Don't read it.
Not yet. until we promo you there.
Yeah. So interestingly, it came from just the idea that everyday life can inspire things. Like it's a spark. It's like that light bulb, the aha moment.
Okay.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Again, so like you're like,
you got me again. You got me again. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. Throwing it off. I'm trying to think of when I started though. I guess it was when it was right after grad school. So I had been, I went to school for teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, let's scroll back even more. I went to undergrad for graphic design. Yeah. Undergrad was at Towson University.
Go Tigers.
And you're a Tiger too, right?
I'm a Tiger. Yep,
nice.
Yep. That's with my wife.
Yeah, Towson. I feel like it's like such a
speaking of things changing.
Yeah, I want to go back to the campus now because it's so much bigger, so many buildings.
It's a little more bougie now. Like it was
really?
like your like blue collar thing back then. The buildings were old, and now it's like this high rise and that high rise.
A lot of the buildings I drove by and I was like, oh, Ida Lee Tall is gone. I mean, it's been gone for a while,
right?
But, like,
yes.
I had classes there.
I was there. Yeah, the teaching, especially the teaching part.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, I didn't go there for teaching.
Oh, that's right. You said.
I went there for graphic design, and actually, the graphic design or the arts building was brand new. I want to say it was being built during my freshman year.
Up on the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was. We were having some of our classes in like enrollment building, like in the basement. It was weird. It was like they're like go down this like dingy hallway. It's really dark and like the lights
are
only,
flickering.
Yeah, they only turn on as you walk by. So you're just like
that's how scary movies start.
Yeah. But so going back to Towson, I went to graphic design, and then the recession happened in 2008.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't find a job, and it was like it kind of dawned on me. I was like, well, maybe I'll do something else. I was substitute teaching, and then I had this light bulb moment.
Aha moment.
I want to go back to school to go be a teacher, and so I did. And then I taught for 10 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I was a Baltimore County teacher for 10 years.
It takes a special kind of person, man or woman, to be a teacher.
Yeah.
So the skill set you have to have is so unique. To hear anybody say teach for 10 years, that can tell me certain things about you, even in a conversation about digital marketing, that is very special. So that's awesome you shared that.
Right. And especially I'm like, 10 years? That seemed like, and granted, it was before kids, so I'm, probably get into that a little bit too. So I taught at elementary level for 8 years, then I was at the middle school level for 2 years, and going back to what we were talking about earlier, just the personalities that happen and that. But then, so a marvelous spark came about after I graduated, and I was just doing this little like kind of, I don't like the term side hustle, but it was like a hobby. Like I was making jewelry, and I was doing craft fairs, things like that. Like just keeping my hands busy because like I'm just a creative.
The artistic and creative side of you.
Yeah. So like I was making all this jewelry. I would do it while I was watching TV, and just I was like, I should come up with a business name for this. It wasn't an LLC. That happened way later, like 2 years ago, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. It's very fresh. 23.
2023. Yep. Yeah. January. So it was that name. I just kind of was thinking of what should I call this? I was just doing research on like what's even out there. Like, is there something that already exists?
That's part of the process, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to take someone else's company name,
right? But the term marvelous just kind of struck me as like, ooh, this is like exciting and like marvelous, like not bougie. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. Almost. Yeah. And then the spark piece, I've seen that term used a lot in different companies, but really it is like igniting like something that's going to like start something and really like bring it to be something else. So originally my logo had a flame in it.
Not a spark, but
not
like
a spark,
the flame
but
after
an
the
actual
spark.
Flame.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually it never even occurred to me to do just like the spark piece. It's like, no, this is like ignited in a good way. And then eventually, I changed my logo over time too, because it just, felt like I wanted it to be more idea based versus like it was too literal, I guess.
Sure. Oh,
And
yeah.
and
Sure.
when I think about logo design, it should tell a story, but it shouldn't necessarily be like this is what I do, like
Yeah.
too obvious, because then you'll see a lot of that repetition.
You almost want it to inspire thought, not
Exactly, and
not the end of the
storytelling.
road. It opens the door. It doesn't close it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's interesting. Okay.
So, yeah, so I think about how that's evolved, right? That company name is still relevant today for me. And I added creative studio because it really does encompass all the things that I do that are creative based, whether it's marketing or logo design, branding, or art and events, which I also do kind of separately, but under the same umbrella.
Multi-passionate.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Let's go back to that word because that is like totally.
It resonates with you.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it doesn't take a lot of creative juice for me to connect your industry and business with the idea of a marvelous spark.
Yeah.
And I can almost have this imaginary story of you with a client trying to get that logo and branding thing going, which we'll do a deep dive in a minute.
Yeah.
And then that moment happens where they're like, oh, that's the one, right? I mean, fast forward 10 years later after that, and then they tell a story about how our designer and I were sitting down and we had this moment, like that is the marvelous spark.
Yes.
That's just the way my brain goes in a rabbit hole. But
Yeah.
that's why I loved that. And in my head, I was like, is it a marvelous spark or marvelous spark? Like, it's just a really cool name. And I love that. And I want to spend some time on that because it's special. And I think it's kind of cool that you had to change your logo a little bit because the better you got at your business, you realize that the messaging you wanted to be changed. And that's literally what clients are doing who might need you. So
Right.
Pretty appropriate, obviously.
Right. Yeah. Rebranding, just even identifying your audience. That's really what I do. Like the
Yeah.
storytelling, the if you're thinking about your audience and like your visuals don't really align with that, it's like, well, why is that? Let's do a little investigating. And then a big part of what I do like with clients is I really do want to know their story. I think storytelling is so
Oh, yeah.
important. And sometimes people might even think like, oh, my story is not that interesting, but there's always something interesting and there's
Yeah.
always something that people can connect with in some way or another that's really what brings us together as
And it makes them
as
different.
human and as society. Yeah, that makes them different but connected at the same time.
It's
So,
funny how many people don't think their story is special. And even as a friend or a neighbor, obviously as a business, when you learn about those stories, there's a lot of magnificent things
mhm,
people go through, and it makes their life very unique and special that they don't consider special. So
right.
you must have a really neat process to kind of unlock that and see that. And then your creativity and vision and design take over. But I mean, I could never do that. I could never do that. I
Yeah.
couldn't listen to somebody's story and then create something visual and artistic from it. It's not who I am. But I
Yeah.
have so much respect for people like you who can do that because I would want that, right? Like, and I've thought about the podcast before. Like, do I logo this up? Do I do this, and that? And we might even have a conversation about that later.
Yeah.
But I fail with my creativity piece. I fail. It's okay. I fail at that point to say, well, who's the audience, right? So it's super cool. I love that. Well, I think it's important to then segue to something else I saw on your website about your values.
Mhm.
I think that I've seen a few websites in my time, and they certainly do hint or flirt with the idea of a value system or a belief system. But you did something special with your values that I think people should know, and you put them out there for everybody to see, and then explained them.
Yeah.
It might not sound like a lot, and I don't know if you realize how much, but it moved me seeing that. And I'm a passionate person myself, but to see that written out, and I almost think like, well, why doesn't everybody do that? And I don't think they have a strong value system or belief system as you do, but I wanted to give you some credit for that, and
I
it was
appreciate
super
that.
cool. Maybe we'll go through those values as we talk about your business, and
Yeah.
we'll hear about them. But it was super neat to see that, and I don't know if you realize how special that is, as we just talked about how, that wasn't on purpose to bring that full circle.
Yeah.
But, having your value system out there for everyone to look at and then define it the way you intend to define it, why doesn't everybody do that? And I imagine your branding and your logo conversation with the company has those in it.
For me, especially because I'm a solopreneur or I'm not with a company with other people,
Yeah.
I think it's a little easier for me to actually say, these are my values, and not to say that anybody else can't have them. But I think
Mm-hmm.
with a company, if you have several people working together, I mean, ideally, everybody in a company would share those values, right?
Ideally.
And in a perfect world,
Small print.
and then same with like when people have a mission and a vision, like a mission statement, vision statement, those can be sometimes a little vague. Like,
Yeah.
so I think sometimes adding, and for me, I don't know why I added the values just so distinctly, but I think it is important that people understand where I'm coming from, what it's like to work with me.
Yeah.
And the hope is that when you see that value list, you're like, yes, yep, that's like that's her. Like that's who I'm working with.
And to come back full circle on purpose, I do think that would be something that would attract a customer to you when
Yeah.
they see that, because those things are needed. And in a high tech, high digital world, which I understand the irony, that's your business, part of your
Yeah.
business, right? I think they're lacking, they being the general public, is lacking the authenticity. And I've had this conversation with multiple guests, different industries, say, you got to get back to connecting to people, because we're a little too far out with how much even AI is not connecting as much as two humans, right? So I just think they did it went a long way to that. I just want to give you credit for that. It's pretty cool.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, and I think a lot of times too, when I think about marketing in general, and I do look at a lot of websites because I get some ideas of like maybe I need to refresh my messaging or
Yeah, inspiration.
yeah, something like that. But I see some people don't put like on the about page. There's no photos. It's like a
Yeah.
faceless agencies, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know. I like to know who I'm working with specifically. And sometimes in an agency setting, you might be working with somebody, and then the person who's actually doing the work is somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think in some cases, you're not getting exactly what you want from it because there's so many people in that process.
Yeah.
Again, not saying that that's not for everybody, and that's it maybe is the best thing for some people because that's what they feel is going to move the needle forward. But there might be some mix-ups in that process, like the miscommunication. If
Yeah.
somebody's working directly with the person versus working with the representative, maybe they like they change the messaging,
Yeah.
and then it's like a line of telephone. Like, actually, that's not what I wanted. Okay, let's go back through, like refer back to that last person.
Exactly.
Oh, there was something that got mixed up in there.
So I feel, and tell me if I'm off base, I feel like that means that the ideal customer for you is a small business, because the corporate ad agency marketing firm has a place.
Right.
JP Morgan Chase could not come to an individual man or woman and say, let's brand, rebrand, market. It's too much.
Correct.
There's a place for them in the marketplace, but I feel like small business needs that one-on-one approach. So am I off base by saying
that
that's
is
a great
absolutely
match?
correct? And
Okay.
again, I'm in thinking about how I'm saying it, I don't want it to sound like, oh, this is not like you shouldn't be working with these large things. Absolutely.
Certainly.
There's so many businesses
Respect
that
where it's given.
require a larger group of people to get things done.
Yeah.
And that is a great segue because that is my ideal client, is in a smaller business that may not require all these additional things. And in many cases, there's larger companies, they have their own in-house marketing team.
Yeah.
So it really just depends on what the business requires and what their needs are. And in my case, since I am on my own currently, I think it's really important that I am doing the work, but that's who you're going to be interacting with the whole time.
And again, not to like sound like a moron, but I feel like if I'm going to employ someone to help me with my logo and branding, it needs to represent me.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea for the contrary to your business model, where it's one-on-one, face-to-face, handshake, eye contact, with the when you said telephone, that was a great way to put it. If there's 7 or 8 people in that department, they're going to work on the web project, right? There's no way they can all have the same vision. It's going to get distorted unintentionally.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's a really great thing for you to have that immediate connection between my story, which you said is a big part of what you want, and then your design.
Right.
I mean, that's huge. I don't want to make light of that. I think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. That's awesome. It's almost daunting. I almost feel like pressure for you, because that's a lot of pressure to help someone make that design.
Yeah, it can be, and it's very rewarding, but it definitely
Yeah.
there's definitely cases where it's like the alignment's just not there, but that's where we have all that kind of prior to the design itself.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it. And actually I just wrote an article about just the process of developing that visual branding.
Okay.
I'm going to publish it on my website soon. I put it out for I'm part of the Perry Hall Business Association.
I saw that. Yeah.
So they do I think it's a monthly newsletter, and I just submitted that article. So I'm going to share it out a little bit wider. But going into that whole process, like there is so much more than just like, oh, here's a picture and we're going to slap it on here and slap our business on here and that's that. Like there really should be a lot
Everyone's
more.
a mugs.
It's very in-depth thought process to it. There should be for it to have longevity, because ideally you don't want to have to be rebranding and changing. That's going to confuse your customers. That's going to confuse like just the validity. Like, you know what you're doing? Or
so you just had a great segue into what I want to talk about next, and it's just understanding what the heck branding is, right? Maybe let's take a second and go down that rabbit hole, because I feel like it's a message that you have to start with. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so a huge part of your business is branding. We're having a conversation about that already, like unintentionally, but I'm not sure I really know what branding is in terms of this conversation. So, question to you, what is branding more than just a logo, which is, I believe that the average layperson thinks it's just a picture or logo or something. What really is branding? What is that?
So branding, I would like to give a little bit of history just because of my education background.
Yes, of course.
So the term brand comes from it means to burn, essentially.
To burn.
Yeah.
Like psst.
Yes. So when you think branding,
cattle,
yeah. So that when you're thinking about a cattle back in the day when people didn't know, like all these cows are running around, all this livestock.
Yeah.
Who does this belong to? They decided to brand the skin, like burning the skin with some kind of icon, a logo, a logo mark. So that's something that still exists today.
Wow.
Moving forward, other people trying to have that authenticity of their product, they needed to come up with some kind of image or marking that brand to determine where their whose product it was. So you see that on labels, you see that on wax seals.
Yeah.
This is,
oh, like back in the day where they would send an envelope and put a wax seal, and it was your family crest or something.
Exactly.
And that's branding.
That's from that person because that is unique to them.
Unique.
And then you get into the Industrial Revolution. There's lots of mass production happening, and a lot of products are similar. But how do you know that it is that exact company you have that quality product?
And then without that, you could get your product stolen.
Absolutely. So that goes into trademark. So again, we're going into that little bit of history.
Yeah.
You have to trademark something to indicate that, no, you cannot steal this. This is that, whether it's a name or image or likeness, all of those things are super important because you could get ripped off. So that's where all that comes from. Yeah. And I kind of did a little deep dive because I was like, you know what, I'm going to write about this. And I think it's really important that we understand that a little bit more, because the application now has also evolved. Mm-hmm. Digital use of logos. And then it really all comes back to how do we differentiate ourselves within our industry.
And be unique, like you said.
And be unique, yes. And a lot of it.
It's not easy.
It's not, especially because there's people now who are, you have the same types of product, but what makes you different? How do you stand out from others? Branding is a piece of the puzzle. It certainly isn't everything, but visual branding, that's my wheelhouse, is the visuals. How do you represent your brand or your company or organization in a way that looks and feels like how you want to represent yourself? It comes down to storytelling. It comes down to capturing that and then showing that to whoever your target audience is. So another piece of the puzzle is, does this resonate with the people I'm trying to reach?
Your target audience.
Mm-hmm. So
what a crazy thing. Is this going to appeal to my target audience? Yeah. I don't know that everybody asks that question.
Right. So, when I work with clients, one of the very first things I do is a branding questionnaire. I want to learn a little bit more. Some of that happens during discovery calls. Like we might chat about, where are you in your business? Are you rebranding? Are you just starting from scratch?
Mm-hmm.
Because that also makes a difference. Has your audience changed?
Oh, that's a good one.
Or are you trying to represent yourself in a different way? So there's so many different factors that come into it, especially if a business is sold off and maybe they're trying to recreate themselves.
Sure. Or they merged or been acquired by somebody.
Exactly.
No, that's huge. And so other than a logo, I mean, are we talking about because I've heard a term being thrown around before called a branding kit. Like, what does that mean? Is that like colors? Does that even matter?
Absolutely.
Because there's 1,000 whites. I know that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to it. I just get really excited about
You're
talking
nerding
about
out.
this. Yeah,
I love that you're nerding out right now.
Because it is.
You should.
There's so much involved in branding that, at first glance, it's like, oh, that makes sense. It looks good. It's because of all that investigation and research and so forth prior to. So yes, it does include logos. It includes colors. It includes font styles.
Fonts?
Fonts, yeah, or typography of a company. So,
wow,
thinking about how you're trying to reach your audience. If you have a child friendly company or like a kids company, you're probably not going to be using the same font style as something that's more of a luxury brand.
Okay.
So that's just kind of giving an example.
Those extremes help me kind of understand that, right?
Yeah.
If I'm imagining this kid brand with super fancy script writing,
right?
It's not going to go well together
unless it's meant to be more of an upscale kids brand. Again, there has to be some intention behind it and purpose, and that really needs to be a solid understanding from the business owner.
And you got to really ask a lot of questions. I mean,
100%.
I can't imagine how many questions your questionnaire in general is. It's not 5 or 10. It's probably more than that, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's at least 10 or 15. And
That's a lot.
I've been modifying it just based on, am I getting enough information?
Sure.
Because sometimes it's like I have the questionnaire, but then of course I always come back to, we might get another call, the client and I, let's go through this. Tell me a little bit more about this, because
you learn more.
Exactly. And I think that's so important, because I am creating a visual representation of your business. That's a big deal.
Oh my God. I can't do it. I can't do it. There's no way I could do that. As soon as you said that, I was like, gulp, I could never do that. I mean, you have to have artistry, period. Creativity, because you're going to read your answers to the questionnaire, talk to the customer, kind of check that vibe. Trying to put down something in imagery based on a conversation, dude, hats off to you. That's incredible. And then have that be the basis of all the marketing a company might use. I mean, that's a lot of pressure on you, Julia.
Yeah, it can be. It's so rewarding, though. It's really exciting to see it out in the world. Like
your little babies, aren't they?
Yeah,
little babies
actually, as a matter of fact, just this morning, I saw an Instagram of a client that I had previously, and she had made hats with the logo, and I was like, I've never seen that. That's really cool.
Oh,
so it's really cool to see the application, kind of going back to that whole concept of the application of your branding. That's why I think it's so important to have full branding when you're thinking about not just one logo, but you've got variations.
Yep.
So you might have a horizontal version, a stacked version, just the logo mark, which is just the icon. And then you might have the word mark, which is just the words. You might have a sub mark, which is a simplified version of the logo.
I might have been aware of these things, but I never knew them by name.
Right.
And that's awesome.
And, I wouldn't expect anybody to just know that right off the bat. But, I'm giving an example of, a newer use is a favicon on a website.
Yep. Yeah. Or an app.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's not your full logo. That's just a little version, the logo mark that you're going to see in smaller applications.
Yeah.
Then on a letterhead, for example, you might have the full name.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, one of the things that's really important for companies to understand, that you should have variations.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You should have a full color version, black and white, and single color. So if those don't work, then you might have to kind of decide.
And again, the extreme. So I mean, obviously one of the largest visual representations of a company without words, and they do include it sometimes, is the Nike swoosh, right? This is a good example of something that everybody in the world recognizes without words. on any shirt, on the back, front, side, any size, any color, you know what that is. But not all logos are that simple to be translated. Or if my logo has white in it, I can't put that on a white shirt.
Absolutely.
I have to have another variation of it.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
And that just made me think of, like, I did a logo for a pickleball association.
Yeah, I love pickleball.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten into it yet. My parents are super into it.
You can get humbled by an older person, no matter. I mean, they rock you.
Yeah, because that's like their thing. It's
personal
like
experience.
Less. It's not as intense on the legs. I guess it can be pretty intense, but it's
with them.
Smaller distance and everything. But I did a logo for them, and they only got one version because it was for a contest.
Okay.
So I created this, and then I realized they were putting it on like merch. I'm like, this isn't going to work on different colored shirts. So I decided to go back to them. I'm like, listen, I'm going to give you another version. Yeah. They were very appreciative.
They were amenable to it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Because they knew, like, oh, yeah, right. Like, this isn't going to work on this colored shirt because it's the same color. It's just going to blend in, or it's just not going to, the contrast isn't there. So definitely having different logos.
But I wouldn't think about that, though. I'm worried about all these other things in my business and running my business and growing it. I don't think about the color variations or how it's going to look. I need someone with that talent that you have to do that. That's huge. So I'm realizing as you're talking that I made a mistake in lumping branding with marketing and advertising, but branding comes first. So
I would say,
I'm asking, is that comes first, right? It has to. In a perfect world.
It definitely it drives the rest of everything else.
Okay.
And I know sometimes, like, if you aren't ready to do all the different variations, if it's not in your budget, or if you are just looking for something just to stand in, that's fine. But the issue is later down the line, if you've put that on all of your marketing materials and you've printed everything and you've just spent a lot of money on all these things, and you just have that one thing, and then you realize, oh, I need more. It is, in my mind, I think it is good to start with everything. And then go from there. You can say, okay, I might need to add on to it, whether it's adding templates or other marketing materials. Like I do the creation of those things in addition to, but I think we hadn't touched on this, like just all the pieces that go with the logo, the fonts and colors, brand guidelines, super important.
What is a brand guideline?
So the guidelines are essentially...
You're like, this is important. I'm like, what is it?
So the guidelines, not just the visuals, it includes just how the wording, the terms that are being used that represent the company.
Certain language they want or don't want.
Absolutely. Because I'm thinking social media, I just use this off the top of my head because I do a lot of graphics and wording, just like the content, the written content for copy for social media. If you don't have guidelines for that, things could really go off the rails. If you have somebody who's coming in, they don't really understand the business and how it wants to be represented. Now, social media really can have a little bit of like flexibility in that way. Because
depending on the business.
Right. And especially because some are more open to like, oh yeah, let's do something fun that's like seeming a little like off brand, but it like gets people noticing.
Social media.
Right. So there's kind of a gray area in that regard.
Okay.
But when it comes to an organization, maybe it's like a nonprofit, for example, and they really want to be representing themselves in a certain way.
Oh, it's a great example.
That's really important to have those guidelines in place. These are the phrases that we use. These are the terms that we use. Using a logo that's like cut off or stretched or just not used correctly, that can be part of your guidelines. Like you don't squish it up next to something. You don't change the colors. Like you don't want to just have, again, the goal is to have that consistency. And I don't want to speak on behalf of every company because maybe they want more loose brand guidelines. But if you've got a really big organization that's being represented in various ways or there's a lot of people involved, those guidelines are going to be very important to keep in place.
I can imagine in both ways, right? Like you just said, the color variation, right? There's some companies that would say, this is the color, this has to be it, except on, apparel, right?
Right. Or if we're
But
trying to do like a I'm just using like American flag as an example. Like, oh, we
yeah,
want to do like a patriotic version of what our logo is. That would be great to have like a white logo and then using additional colors
yeah,
with it. Because that's again that gray area of depending on the purpose behind it too. I think it really is important to say,
it has to be
does it
consistent.
does it have to like does this make sense, or is this just gimmicky, or is this something that's going to resonate with the people we're working with?
Wow.
Um, so that's
Go figure. You actually want to, attract your target audience.
yeah,
Go figure.
yeah, exactly.
So, do you work with other types of major industries like marketers and advertisers?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I would say, you could see it as maybe a competition type of thing. I don't see it that way. I see it more as either collaborating or just expanding on the work that I do.
Okay.
So I currently work with marketers who, some of the work that they're doing is basically complementing. We're doing some of the same
Oh,
things, but
yeah.
I'm doing
Your
the visual
lane, so to
component.
speak.
Yeah. So in some ways, like they're focused on this, they want me to focus on this, and so it's a partnership versus like us versus them mentality.
I can see that.
I
I
just
wouldn't have thought off the bat, but now that you mention it, like if I was a marketing or advertising company and a customer had no brand, that's a difficult place to start. On the contrary, if they came with a branding package, which I know
right.
what that means now because of you, thank you, and said, "This is our branding package. We want to market and advertise," it's a lot different conversation, I'm sure, at that
It's
point.
so much easier to start with that too. Yeah, because if you have a marketer who, and again, this is part of like a creative team, like in a larger business, you would have that marketing team that would include the designer, that
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
include all these other people in a team variation.
Sure.
But if you're working with a smaller business that doesn't work with a team of people, they might be doing it themselves, which a lot of cases of people are
Right. Oh,
doing.
yeah. Nature of small business.
Yeah.
Grandma might have to approve a logo.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of, it's important that everybody who's involved in the process of creating it understands what the end goal is.
Yeah.
You have to go back to what's the intention, who's your audience, what's your goal, and that's how you move things forward.
Mm. So I have two questions that are just mirrors of each other.
Mhm.
Once we engage, you mentioned onboarding or discovery call.
Mhm.
Once we have that, if I'm a potential client of yours, and then we say, okay, we're going to work together. What's the shortest time you've been able to come up with a full package? And then the mirror of that is, what's the longest it's ever taken? So, because I'm kind of getting, I want to get like an average, like how long does it take to go through this process? But I'm sure you have bookends. So
Yes.
give me those bookends. Let me hear that. It's got to
All
be a
right.
story.
Yeah. So shortest time, I would say probably about 2 weeks, because
Ooh,
again,
okay.
it goes into
They got to be liking everything you're putting in front of them at that point.
right, and it's like
First
you've
pass.
got the branding questionnaire, your mood board. I have my process includes sketching and getting idea generation and giving concepts. So again, if you want a quick fix, if you want to just like slap some picture with words, I'm probably not the right person to work with.
Oh, that's profound. That's awesome.
Because there is a process and it's intentional, and I think if you don't have those pieces in place, you're going to be coming back to them later anyway.
Awesome.
So that's what I kind of think about. And when it comes to the longer end of things,
Yeah. So 2 weeks on one side. What's the other side?
I always put in my contracts, it's contingent on feedback, timely feedback. If you're not getting back to me within X amount of times, and again, I've learned this. This is just all my learning curve in the last 2.5
You're
years.
only one half of the deal.
Right.
There's customer and a provider.
Yeah. So I typically just create a timeline for my clients. I think that's also very important. Like, this is when this is going to happen. This is when this is going to happen. I need your feedback by XYZ date. That helps the ball continue to roll.
They probably appreciate that though, because
Yeah,
they're running a business.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when it's not a priority for them, it kind of falls back on my priority list of, okay, we're approaching that date. So on the longer end, it's a school district I've been working with for over a year now.
Oh, because they have so many decision makers, so
Exactly.
many hands in the pot.
Yes.
Well, that makes sense. Oh, goodness gracious.
So, I essentially put that on the back burner because the guy I'm working with, he's wonderful. I've talked to him. I've emailed him, and he's like, we had a new superintendent come
But
in.
he's one person.
He's one person, and he also has his own work to focus on. So I do feel for them because we did most of the process. We're like moving along pretty well, and then next thing I know, I'm like, all right, I haven't heard from them, and
I don't think
really
it's unfair to say though that if your client is not prioritizing this work, then you shouldn't have to prioritize it either, because you have to run a business.
Exactly.
You've got your own business.
Exactly. And again, that learning curve of like set deadlines, have in the contract of like, if this has gone dormant for X amount of time, which that happens, I get it, but have that communication and make sure that we are on the same page of, oh, actually we changed our mind, or this is what's going on, and therefore we might need to push this back. Fine.
That makes
that's what it boils down to. And that's, it's just it's like a good thing to have just in life, like effective communication, but that's also the work that I do. How are we effectively communicating the message of a business through visuals, through written content? In addition to what I do, I think it all goes hand in hand.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
You're communicating to an audience, but you have to communicate with the client first so that they can communicate with their audience.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So I think you have told an incredible story from who you are with your wife, your husband Andy, and your children, and your business, how it got started, and a marvelous spark happened for you, pun intended. And then we've taught me today about branding as a separate part of marketing and advertising. I've learned so much just talking to you and sitting here listening to you. I'm nerding out. I love that you're nerding out too. So, but I need to know, for your benefit, for my audience, when do I call you, right? In the process of the daunting task of saying, I think I'm going to start a business, not a side hustle, if you don't like that term. If you do, side hustle, whatever. But I'm there. I'm like, I want to do something, whether it's whatever, right? Where in that moment do I need to call Julia? Tell me when that moment is. Tell me when I need a marvelous spark.
So,
pun intended.
There are a couple of different moments or times in a business where branding or rebranding or even refreshing happens. When you're just starting, I may be biased, but I do feel that those visuals should be pretty solid right off the bat. Just because that way it's done. You've got it. Your goal is to have it for a long time.
Never look back.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you can't tweak it here and there over time. But once you have that solid foundation, then you'll be able to use that for all of your marketing, all of your advertising. It's just going to be done, and you're not having to tweak it later too much right in the beginning.
Yeah.
If you are rebranding, so if you're a business that you're looking at your branding and it seems either outdated, it's not reaching the audience that you're currently working with, or if you just feel, so rebrand and refresh are somewhat the same, but a rebrand might be completely different direction, whereas a refresh might just be, this logo looks really old and it looks very dated.
So you can update,
absolutely.
Evolving.
And if you think about like businesses, I like to use very big businesses. Look at Apple's first logo. It's like an illustration. Point. It's literally like it's a huge like illustration. It's like super detailed.
Yeah.
It's not a logo, but it was.
It was at the time.
Amazon, humble beginnings.
Yep.
Those are just two that come off the top of my head that are very distinctly very different. And now it's like you see them, and like even like because Amazon, like the little smile, that's their logo mark. Like they don't have the name there, but on the side of a truck, it's like you can see that, you know what it is.
Yeah.
And then same, obviously, Apple is very clear. So yeah, those are probably. Did I answer the question? Again, I always go on a tangent.
No, I think you did, because I wasn't even aware that rebranding was something that's in your wheelhouse, but that makes sense. So
absolutely.
If you have gone down a journey and you've decided you want to make some changes, or if you're about to go down this journey of self-employment or ownership or whatever, that's the time. That was the answer. Like, and you weighed in with your opinion, which you're the professional, not me.
Right.
I couldn't answer that question. That if given the right circumstances, you do suggest to do the branding in the beginning.
Yes.
Because you can take it as far as you want it. You can tweak, evolve, and modify, but you've got to have it. Your opinion is that you should have something if you can. If it's in your budget or your time frame to start your business, you should begin with that as opposed to just winging it later.
Yeah.
But there are companies who have loved what they've got, but for a natural, positive reason need to make a change. I think sometimes, too, your audience just gets older.
Yeah.
You need a refreshing. If you've been around long enough that you've actually had customers that are getting older, if you still have a product for them, even though you did 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, but now it's different, maybe there's an opportunity there.
Definitely.
Or, I mean, what about like a merger and acquisition? If a new person's taken over and they want to refresh it kind of thing.
Yeah, because, well, you might have something where the logos are just like kind of simultaneously next to each other. Or you might just have like an umbrella organization or company that they have an entire different brand or a different look and feel, but it's like this is the accumulation of two different things.
I thought about a cool opportunity for you too, where if a company is expanding and they're increasing their product line,
right?
Like a roofing company that now wants to open up a framing, or they want to open up fencing or something like that. There might be an opportunity to evolve the brand for the new leg of the company or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Because if you think about like some like a overarching logo, and then you might have like these subsets, like this is my
Subsets, yeah.
yeah, like you might have different color scheme for that particular branch of that company, or but they all still have that look and feel of the overhead. Another thing I think of is real estate agents.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. I'm looking straight in the camera because it just dawned on me. Like that's another example of you can have your own kind of individual branding within that umbrella of the branding that already exists for your overarching company.
And I'll tell you that that's a huge opportunity for you, because it is a very common thing now for the individual agent or a team to make their own branding, because people get lost sometimes in the digital world with the same brand. And if there's competing brands in the same market area, I won't say any by name because of what I do for a living, but in Baltimore, there are really big name brokerages that have 6 or 7 offices with different sub names. XYZ Realty Baltimore, XYZ Realty Millersville, XYZ Realty, and there is a different logo branding. But within those shops, there's also teams. So they're trying to be unique, special, and different in their marketplace. And agents are a great partner for you. That I can help you with. I know some of those people.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, it's just trying to put your own spin on things and stand out, because there are so many people in these industries. And it's like, how do we kind of create our own within the construct? So that's the interesting part, is that in that case, the creativity can run wild to an extent, right? Like you still are representing a larger business, but you can still have some autonomy in that individual aspect.
I've learned so much today, but there is one other thing I want to ask you. And because I'm a self-proclaimed nerd, and you did open that door and you kind of nerded out on something, so you might be a little baby nerd. You've got boys. You're going to become a nerd mom. It's going to happen. Trust me. I want to know, answer the question, what is your superpower? Now, before you answer that, in the whole like superhero world, sometimes you haven't discovered it yet, and that's okay. If you're not sure yet, it's all good. That's why the first half of a movie, in most cases for the comic movies, is the story, the storytelling. So have you been able to identify what you would call, or someone has accused you of positively, of a superpower yet? Do you know your superpower?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is that I'm a connector.
Ooh, okay.
Which I think a lot of it is like I like to build community. I know that might sound kind of like overused. Like, I mean, a lot of people do, like a community
Actually, no
builder.
one's ever said that to me, so that's pretty awesome.
Like, I'm a connector. I love like help, like just supporting other businesses and being like,
community.
Ooh, like the referral part, or just knowing people. Like I've definitely had people say like, God, you know everybody. I always like, and actually it's funny, like my cousin, she's lived here for a while, but she was living in Florida for a long time, like grew up there and then came back to, she lived in Baltimore, and she knows a lot of people, but like every time we'd go out, she'd be like, you run into somebody you know. Like I like connecting with people, and I like being able to send somebody like, oh, I know somebody's great for this. That comes along with business, but just in my personal life too. I love I love making people feel welcome. So maybe that's part of that, what's the word? Superpower.
Yeah.
Like, and also
I love that.
being new to a place and feeling welcome, but also welcoming others. Like if someone feels out of place, like, hey, like you can sit to my lunch table, or like that sort of thing.
Oh, that's cute. Well, I love that. And now that you mentioned that is a superpower, because there are some people that work in industries where they have to be a networker,
Mhm.
and it's not the same. I think networking and connecting is different, because when you said connector, I had an emotional element to that. I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
off base here, but I feel like when you're truly a connector, you recognize a match making opportunity, as opposed to a networker where it's like bing, 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 and it's a little less intimate, I guess is the word to
Yeah.
use. But so when you said that, I kind of got chills. I was like, oh, that's a good one. And
Nice.
no one's ever said that. Now, only 21 episodes deep, so maybe somebody else tried to cheat off of you, but that's super cool. That's a big deal. I think in
Yeah.
your personal life, you could benefit from that a lot. And then obviously in your professional life, that's a huge superpower to have. That's fantastic. So
Thanks.
your superpower is being a connector. I love that. That's a great answer.
Yeah. Well,
You didn't sound like you were confident that would be a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's just thinking it's like, oh, everybody. It's like I get to know people. I like to get to know
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Again, past like face value. It's like, okay, I don't ever want to be seen as like, ooh, they're standoffish, which that just comes with territory. Some people
Sure.
just have RBF, which I do not have.
You have to define
but
that.
like-
I know what that means, but you just said that. You have to define that. You have to.
Resting bitch face.
Yes. Yes. When you are out, you can tell. And men can have a bitch face. This is not a PG-13
Okay,
podcast.
I was going to say, I'm like, can I say that?
Yes. So yeah, RBF's real, and they're obviously, these individuals have something going on, but I'll be honest with you, I've talked to somebody with RBF and then they open up.
Right.
Because they're scared to death. They're an introvert. Introverts will talk for days. They'll never start the conversation.
And sometimes it's just like your face just rests a certain way.
Yeah. And you think they have resting.
When I have a friend who like we'd be out, again, I'm just thinking like, this is like years and years ago, but like people would come in and be like, why, like what's wrong? Like, why are you sad?
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's a little off topic, but just thinking about like when you're in a space and maybe you just need to like, someone needs to just have a conversation. It's not, you're not even standoffish. Maybe you are more like introverted. I kind of consider myself more introverted in the sense of like, depending on the space.
Yeah.
And I've gotten better at being more open.
Oh, I can imagine.
Like especially going to like networking events. Like my heart races every time it's like coming up to my turn. Like, what am I going to say today for this 30-second, pitch?
Yeah.
But then when you get up there, and especially that with like teaching, like you just kind of jump that hurdle a little bit more and more.
Yeah.
And then
it's like you're flexing a muscle almost.
Absolutely.
You get better at it.
Yeah. It's like you just kind of, and then in the back of my mind, I'm like, who cares also? Like,
well, I thought you were going to say multi-passionate. That was going to be your superpower, but you rocked me with connector. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So totally good answer. Maybe your secondary power is multi-passionate.
Well,
because it's such a unique thing.
But it goes hand in hand because I'm passionate about, for example, like connecting, and it's connector in the like person to person, but also connector and like I'm connecting all of these skills that I've built over time. I worked in the restaurant industry for a very long time prior to teaching and graphic design, and those people skills.
All
those skills, like I loved talking to people and like joking, like giving them the food, and like the hospitality industry I think is so important to have that skill.
Yeah.
Then it brings me into like my teaching world, like being able to interact and like just having those.
I told you you're a special person that you did that so long.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And again, like just that set of skills, how am I connecting that to my next part as an entrepreneur and as a business owner?
Yeah.
Lifelong learning, like that's a phrase that's always used in education. I think it's really important in life in general. Like you're constantly learning new things. You're constantly having that childlike mind. I know we talked about that earlier.
Oh yeah, I love that phrase.
So I think that just having that open-mindedness too is really important to get to the next step and get better at things.
Well, I'd be remiss if I did not allude to the fact that your superpower is part of my podcast name. Because connected to the web, and I had that idea. I just wanted to put people together in a community.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the first one to try this. I've met other people that do a similar style podcast, but I think what I bring is an emotional attachment that I can bring beyond networking.
Yes.
Maybe to a lot of people, networking and connecting are the same, but to me, it's a little different.
Yeah.
And I think your superpower kind of shows that, where it can be any version of what that word is. So I really appreciate you coming here. I think your story's fantastic. Welcome to Harford County. Welcome back to your husband. Welcome back, Andy. But I really think that there's a really huge market for you and what you do for a living. And I'm hoping, pun intended, that we connect you with some of those folks in my audience. A lot of small business owners don't even realize they need you. And I'm hoping that as they hear your story and our conversation, they realize they do. And I'd love to hear about that. And maybe I'll have you back a year from now and find out how you've blown up and evolved.
That would be really cool.
That would be super cool. And I think there's going to be some magic there. So I wish you the best of luck with your budding business. Thank you so much. And
I appreciate,
I'm excited.
I also appreciate some of the, but when you just said budding, it just reminds me, I'm a gardener. This is kind of like a side, but I think about, I just shared something about this, that parallel with growing a garden and growing a business. And
wow. Great imagery.
Thinking about, and like a year from now, like what does a plant look like from one year to the next?
Oh yeah. Planting a seed.
Yep.
A lot of metaphor there.
Exactly. And it just sparked that idea of thinking.
Was it a marvelous spark you just had?
Yes, it was a marvelous spark. We'll come back to that as well.
I love that.
I know. But actually my logo, that it has evolved, it used to have like fire, and that just didn't really quite make sense. Like that was kind of my evolution of that logo, was the spark part. But now it's I was inspired by this random candle. So coincidentally, it was a candle, but it was like the outside portion of a candle had this floral element, but it was like blooming. So I think about that again, that metaphor, kind of sharing that idea of like blooming, growing a business. Ooh. And it still had the other elements of the previous logo, but that's kind of where that
I love that
evolution came to.
Well, I'll put your logo right here. It's going to be for the audience because I will put it in. Would you be willing to share your old logo?
Yeah, absolutely.
So then I'll put your old logo here.
I was going to say, well, I also
and I'll put your new one back here.
I made a reel a little while ago where it started. Again, I don't remember when. Yeah, I don't remember when I made it, but yeah, it was taken some evolution, and rightfully so, because the business changed and it needed that. So
I love, Julia, that you are an advocate for a business and industry that you are actually also like a self-client for. I love that you're, and evolution is also, you can welcome it. You shouldn't be afraid of it. That's a really cool message that we've had, kind of through our conversation. That's awesome. Well, I'm going to make sure that all your contact information is in your website, all your socials. Cool. Definitely, we got your logo just came up on the screen a minute ago, and we'll see the transition. Definitely say hi if you see us around. We'll do some fun stuff. But everybody, please go check out our website. It's super cool. I do want to end with one thing before I say goodbye. There was a part on the website that I saw where you like to hula hoop.
Yes.
And there may or may not be some photographs. You'll have to go see our website to find out of you hula hooping. But you did bring a hula hoop today.
I did. And I also just want to do a quick plug for Ingrid Barrios Photography. She's another local mom-owned business, and she is fantastic. Yeah. She is a brand photographer for the Baltimore area, but she's fantastic to work with, and she did my photos. So
that's fantastic.
We had so much fun.
Could we potentially get a demonstration? Would you be comfortable with that?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, that would be fun.
Okay, so let's do this.
Okay.
Let's do this. Before I say goodbye to the audience, let's do this.
All right.
Awesome. Okay, so as promised, we're going to have a demonstration of a passion from a multi-passionate person. So without further ado, please show us what you're doing here. Yep, good.
I just taught a hula hooping class for children, and I have another hula hoop class coming up for adults.
Okay, awesome. And the event information for that is, holy crap, is on her website. You just put hands in.
Yeah, so you can do all sorts of things with
it. Wait, it just went down to your knees. You can't hula hoop and not smile like you're smiling.
I know. Well, that's
Oh
what I
my
love.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Bow to the audience. That was amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Listen, hey, thank you so much for watching, guys. This is a super awesome lady. The excitement and smiles you've heard are real. This is not scripted. We had fun. What you don't know is we had to actually cut one time because I did not hit the record button, and we still had a good time. So thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys. Thank you for being here on the Connected to the Web podcast. See you guys again.